Hi everyone, this is a week 12 overview of what you're going to be doing this week. Here's the announcement page, which I just wanted to make you aware that exam 4, you just finished exam 3, but exam 4 will be the week of April 23rd. So this week we will do chapter 12, last week was chapter 11, next week will be chapter 13, and then April 23rd will be that next week, so the exam will be over chapters 11 through 13. Also, just with my schedule switching my office hours on Wednesday, instead of starting at 4, running until about 5, it'll be easier for me to do 8:30 to 9:30, still at the Canyon County Center. Alright, so what you have for this week is Chapter 12, Host Defense 1. This is going to look at an overview of the 3 lines of defense and then look more closely at the non-specific defenses, which are lines 1 and 2. Next week will be the 3rd line of defense in Chapter 13, which is going to be looking at specificity. So, the next 2 weeks we're going to cover the immune system. Now, it might seem like a lot of information. Hopefully it's very interesting to you, but in reality, these 2 weeks worth of material could be covered in a 500-page textbook. Immunology is a course in itself, and it could actually be divided into several different specific types of immunity, which could also be their own courses. So there's a huge amount of detail within the immune system, and we're just going to touch on some of the very basics, or just not delve into the amount of detail that we could. Alright, if you look at the left side of your screen here, there are 17 different pages to look at. And down here, the last 3 are going to be your graded assignments. Chapter 12, Learn Smart. There's a homework assignment, an additional assignment for Chapter 12, which I can create myself. So those questions are very specific to the chapter objectives. And then Quiz 12. All right, what you have between here and those graded assignments, in Chapter 12, hopefully you are reading those chapters before you begin working through the material. And then here you have an animation where you can look at first stage, second stage, and third stage. And it really gives you the big picture of what's going on here. And the first line of defense, it's intact skin, it's mucous membranes and the secretion, it's the normal flora that we have. Just big ideas here. And even if you can keep the big ideas straight in your head, that's going to help you immensely on the exam. Alright, here you have the PowerPoint lecture notes. And on each page of the PowerPoint notes, you've got the specific objectives. So there are 12 objectives for Chapter 12, and several different stages of the video. 12.1, 12.2, and then 12.3 is a fair amount of information, just material to talk through, so that's why there's Part 1 and Part 2. Alright, here we have a little bit of MRSA. It's just to highlight disease, and this is going to prepare you for the last week of the class. The last week of the class we will just be talking about some of the highlighted diseases, and there's a lot of information there. I don't think there's very much information. There will be very much information on Exam 4 over MRSA. Rather, we'll revisit that for the last week of the class. Alright, now what you have are a variety of animations. This is actually an additional 15-minute mini lecture on the immune system, the innate immune system. So I would recommend looking or watching this after you have walk through the real PowerPoint or the PowerPoint lecture notes. And hopefully you are printing those PowerPoint notes as well as then using that material to fill in the chapter objectives to create your own study guide. Alright, so now we have a variety of animations. And some of these are directly from McGraw-Hill's SEER textbook, and you're going to have to click to launch them, but that's going to take me onto a different screen. Here you have just looking at the physical barriers. Some of the professional phagocytes, right? The guys that are going to do the work of phagocytosing for material. And neutrophils are a major component. Monocytes are phagocytes that move into or move throughout the blood. Monocytes will then transition into macrophages when they leave the blood and move into the tissue. All right, and those are your three main types of phagocytes. Here's another animation. Couple of animations, couple of questions there just to keep you thinking. An inflammation diagram or animation. And again, this one is directly from your textbook. Looking at fever, why is fever important? What's going on here? And then finally, your assignments. And all three of these are going to take you into Connect. So that is it for week 12, looking at chapter 12 information. If you have any questions, please let me know. And one more thing, just to point this out, I think I've done this before, but in case I haven't, here is the complete list of chapter objectives. Alright, so hopefully you have been utilizing these throughout the semester, and we are finally to chapter 11, exam 4. So chapter 11, the interaction between microbes and humans. This is just a lot of information, and I mentioned this last week in my email. Depending on what your background is, both work experience, clinical experience, or education-wise, some of this information is actually going to be could be familiar with you. All right, and what you want to do with this is to print it and then go through your textbook or the PowerPoint notes and just simply define all of these terms. Chapter 11 is a good chapter, but it can be, it's just full of terms. So really, this is the best way to study for this material, is to just memorize the terms. All right, so quite a few terms here, and then figures to know. This is going to be more of the conceptual components. All right, figures 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11 from chapter 11 looks at the ways microbes can damage the host, the steps involved when a microbe causes disease in a host, stages of the course of an infection and disease. All right, so all of these are good to focus on, and then tables to know sites that harbor normal flora, your normal bacteria, and really what this does is it shows you where bacteria are not. The types of infections, the carrier states of individuals, and then Koch's postulates. All right, then chapter 12 for this week. Figure 12.1, know and understand all components of the immune system presented here. So this is going to be a diagram of basically hematopoiesis, moving from the stem cell down to the different individual components of the immune system. All right, what are the different physical and chemical barriers? What is lysozyme? Where is it found? So it's found in saliva, it's found in tears, that type of location. What are the three major functions of the second and third line of defense? Know the 4 general defenses of the second line of defense. look at and know the specific material about the neutrophils, monocytes, macrophages, those guys. Some of this information you can get off of the page on Blackboard that talks about those. What are the 7 steps of phagocytosis? What are the major functions of inflammation, diapedesis, pyrogen, benefits of fever? All right, and differentiate between the lymphatic system and the circulatory system. And that, in a nutshell, is Chapter 12.